Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of We Evolve.
Today we're just going to be doing the other half of our female endocrine system, so like the part 2. If you haven't watched our first episode, definitely go watch them because today we're just going to be focusing on PCOS, endometriosis, and then insulin control and how that is related to the female endocrine system.
So starting out with PCOS, it's called polycystic ovary syndrome, and I think it's pretty prevalent in endocrine disorders in females, especially over TikTok right now. I feel like a lot of women are coming forward and being honest with their journey with PCOS, and it needs to be talked about. So there are many ways to detect this. There are blood tests for high testosterone, irregular periods, painful periods, irregular or no ovulation, which means you can't get pregnant, and polycystic ovaries, which can be detected through ultrasounds.
Yep. And then also, there's not actually a cyst on your ovaries. It's more like a follicle that's like swollen. Think about it like that. But it's like swollen enough to be able to be seen in an ultrasound, but not always. So just because you have PCOS doesn't mean you're gonna have that swollen follicle. So with PCOS, like the condition she mentioned, you only need to meet 2 of them to be qualified to have PCOS. And I did hear that you can self-diagnose for PCOS if you have the other ones.
Like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, interesting.
So PCOS, essentially, like down to the very small details, PCOS is related to a problem with the feedback loop in the endocrine system, and it's causing the incorrect amount of a hormone to be released at the wrong time. That's basically what's happening. So instead of releasing FSH at a higher amount than LH hormone, the ovaries are releasing LH at a higher amount, which stimulates the theca cells, I think that's how you say it, and these cells produce androgens, which essentially are testosterone.
Men have androgens, which produce testosterone.
Yep.
So which the high testosterone can lead to like a deeper voice, facial hair.
And I do also want to mention, so in our body, like we talked about it in a previous episode, but in our body, like in a female's body, there are androgens. There is testosterone. But during a specific time of your menstrual cycle, those androgens end up turning into estrogen and then causing that peak in estrogen. But what's happening with somebody who has PCOS is they're producing too much of those androgens, and then those androgens don't completely all turn into estrogen, so that you have this like testosterone that's like building up in your body, essentially.
And because of these follicles not fully developing and ovulation not even properly occurring, this causes a pause in the follicle development, and it appears like a cyst, like what Deetya says. So in a female that doesn't have PCOS, we know that the LH hormone does get released and the androgens, but eventually these androgens get converted to estrogen by the granulosa cells.
The granulosa.
Thank you. Granulosa cells inside the follicles, which again, remember that follicle is stimulated by FSH. So if PCOS patients, since they already have a low FSH amount, these androgens don't get converted to estrogen.
Yep. So again, FSH stands for follicle stimulating hormone. So what it essentially stimulates the follicle to grow, and then remember the egg gets released from that follicle. So basically what's happening in a PCOS
oh my god, we are going through it today.
PCOS patient is there is not enough of that FSH hormone getting released, so that follicle is not getting stimulated enough to release the egg. And that's why some patients don't ovulate, because the egg is not actually getting released.
And those who have PCOS, it's very hard for them to get pregnant, and a lot of them actually go through IVF, try to find, there's no treatment for PCOS yet, right?
There's no treatment, it's more just like managing.
Maybe you have to take like, I guess like hormone
depending
shots,
on
like
what kind of PCOS.
I mean, that is what IVF is, basically.
I thought IVF is like...
You are taking like hormone shots, that's why you're going through it.
Bro, I fully thought IVF is when they are like implanting an embryo.
That is. But you need to get your body prepped for that. And then once you get prepped for that, then they take your egg, then they take the sperm and they put it together.
So what are the shots?
I think it's hormone shots. Like it could be like those shots, and then they implant that embryo into you, and then don't quote us on this at all.
We haven't done our research on this.
Yeah, we have not looked into IVF. But.
So essentially, since you're not getting the testosterone or the androgens converted into estrogen, the women with PCOS are not able to have that like peak in estrogen that females that don't have PCOS normally have. And this essentially just like I mentioned, affects the entire feedback loop and kind of like distorts the hormones and when they should come and which amount. So estrogen, the peak amount of estrogen is supposed to cause LH to come, but then there's like a whole imbalance situation happening, which at the end, the hormones do come out, but they're not coming out in the right amount. Thus, ovulation never actually ends up happening.
Yeah. So leading on, we're going to now talk about endometriosis because it kind of goes along with PCOS. 50% of PCOS, I guess, people have endometriosis. And endometriosis is a condition where the endometrium lining, which is also known as the uterine lining, which is supposed to grow inside the uterus, is actually growing on the outside of the uterus. So it's usually on the ovaries, the fallopian tube, pelvic lining, and sometimes even the bowl or bladder.
Mm-hmm. And this is like, if you guys, I know this is also on TikTok too, but this is when you're having those insane period pain where you genuinely like, no joke, like you genuinely cannot do normal tasks.
And you have to shed that uterine lining. That's what a period is.
That's what's happening. So yes, that the endometrium lining that's outside your uterus is shedding, but there's nowhere for it to go. Right?
Yeah, and adding on to that, like that tissue still responds to the hormones we mentioned earlier. So it's like it still thickens, it breaks down, and it bleeds each cycle. But since the blood has no exit path, it causes inflammation, and that's the extreme pain like Deetya talked about, scar tissue, infertility, and it's not good.
Yep. And then it can also, so like Shorty mentioned with the infertility, it can cause infertility in many ways, but one of the ways is the egg fully is not even attached in the uterus. It's attached to uterine lining, not in the uterus though. Like, I think that's what an ectopic pregnancy is.
That is not good.
You can't have that baby. It's not viable because it's not in the uterus. So then that's when they have to go and terminate the pregnancy essentially. But
you're done. She's a popular girl.
Sorry guys. Anyways, so that's what happens. That's one way that you can be infertile from PCOS, but like Shwani mentioned, that's the lining is still the same like material. Not like material, like material. So endometriosis is still driven by estrogen. High amounts of estrogen can worsen symptoms, so it's just like, again, like a feedback loop problem. So like estrogen is still doing the same things it normally does, but now it's also affecting these parts that are outside the uterus.
Yeah. And like a healthy individual, the progesterone that is produced is stabilized the uterine lining and counteracts the estrogen, but in endometriosis patient, the tissue becomes resistant to progesterone. But it's not good. That's the moral of the story. Endometriosis is not a good thing, and it's so sad that a lot of women do face it. And yeah.
So this part's a little bit different in endometriosis versus PCOS, but in endometriosis patients, you may not see as high as androgens.
Androgens? Androgens? It's androgens.
I said androgens.
No, I heard you say androgens. Why are you gaslighting me?
I meant to say androgens. I'm pretty sure I said androgens.
She's gaslighting.
You may not see as high of androgens in endometriosis patients as PCOS patients because with endometriosis, you're not having an imbalance of testosterone or androgen. That's not what's happening. Not estrogen.
Oh my god, there's too many hormones.
In endometriosis, it is a estrogen-dependent disease, and so that testosterone is still getting converted to estrogen. You're still having those peaks, but it's just not responding to
There should just be a clip of you saying estrogen, like estrogen, 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 estrogen. You say it so much.
They're like messing it up.
Yeah,
Like, saying it so much.
Okay, but moral of the story, endometrium again, not a good thing. I'm so like... Why are you laughing? I'm just saying, like, I think it's such a powerful thing a woman goes through, and I literally congratulate you, and it's, like, crazy that you have to do all that, because we already go through so much with a period, so it's like, why do we gotta go through more pain? But.
So, just a little, like, we're gonna do a whole episode on the immune system, but just for information, macrophages are part of the immune system, and essentially their job is to go in and eat up, like, literally gulp up.
Boom.
Engulf.
And like it's like a little antigen presenting hat, and then you gulp it.
It engulfs pathogens, bacteria, like literally anything that shouldn't be where it is. Okay, so sometimes in a healthy female, uterine lining does grow on the outside, like in other places where it shouldn't grow, like we mentioned, the fallopian tube, the ovaries, like it does grow there. But the macrophages in your body that are produced by the immune system are supposed to go in and essentially eat up this lining. But in endometriosis patients, this does not happen. The immune system essentially fails at clearing these cells, and then it just keeps growing.
Yeah. So moving on, we're going to talk about insulin control now, because that's all affected by this whole like hormones and all the systems within the female endocrinology. But even though insulin is required in the maintenance of blood glucose level, it's also tied to the reproductive endocrine system, and because the ovaries are extremely high insulin sensitive. Oh my god, I can't speak. Sensitive.
So in a healthy individual, insulin helps regulate ovarian steroid production, and it works indirectly with FSH and LH, and it maintains follicle development. So what do you mean indirectly? It's not literally like, it's not working literally like a feedback loop, but it's indirectly affecting something else, which is then affecting the feedback loop.
Mm-hmm. And it also ensures that the body only supports ovulation if it has enough energy. So it signals the body whether there's energy available or not, and that is why high or low insulin levels can disrupt cycles.
So just a little like backstory type of thing. In like tribal era, I guess, like if there wasn't enough food available, literally women would not ovulate and then get pregnant.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Because it's like your body's trying to conserve energy.
What do women do if they have diabetes?
Well, I think I'm not sure, but I think the insulin thing, it's like it needs to have a certain amount.
So eating food is very important, guys.
Yeah, well, obviously, like.
I'm very low on my blood glucose levels right now because I haven't eaten anything.
All right, so she's a bad example.
I'm a little hungry.
But essentially, yeah, so your body is this amazing system that has a bunch of other systems working together to make it work, right?
Basically, your body's whole mission is to keep you alive.
Yes. The whole mission is to keep you alive, and so even if you think about the whole, like, the way of life or whatever, survival of fittest, how does that work? It's not just you're living, but you need to produce healthy, viable offspring that can also be healthy and live, right? The whole idea is if you don't have enough food, you don't get pregnant because your kid, your offspring, may then also not have any food, and then you're not providing viable offspring. Like you're not providing healthy offspring because then you don't even have food to eat. How are you gonna
to give your offspring?
But this is extreme conditions. Like it's not like if you don't eat one day you can't get pregnant. Yeah. But I just wanted to explain to you guys that the whole body works together from your brain to your toes. Like everything is working.
Yeah, that's why I like to say like your whole body's mission is to try to keep you alive, and like genuinely what you are putting into your system is what will cause your body to like either counteract it, and it's a whole thing. But their whole mission is to keep you alive. So take care of your body, eat your food, don't do bad things.
Yep. So when insulin is too high, it can increase the production of androgens, which it binds to the insulin receptors on the theca cells, and then it amplifies the release of androgens, and then also decreases the production of sex hormone binding globulin.
Big words we just said.
Yeah, which is supposed to bind to testosterone and then make it inactive. So do you remember when we talked about how females have testosterone in your body, but they're not working the same way like if PCOS patients have it? Essentially, PCOS patients have high testosterone and low levels of the sex hormone binding globulin, which is supposed to go in, capture the testosterone, make it inactive. But they have an imbalance of testosterone versus the SHBG, and therefore testosterone is showing up in their blood levels more than normal.
Yeah, and this also causes Ooh, I can't speak. This also causes it to suppress normal ovulation, and PCOS patients, like Deetya said, like because they're insulin resistant, it's very common and connects to the pathways of PCOS patients and causing irregular cycles, infertility risk, acne, and other symptoms.
And then in endometriosis, insulin isn't the primary driver because you're not having that androgen problem here, but it still plays a role and can cause indirect inflammation. And it also messes with estrogen pathways because, again, the whole idea of testosterone is supposed to turn into estrogen, increasing the peak. And then since at the end of the day, endometriosis is an estrogen-driven issue, it can affect its symptoms, I guess, in a very indirect way.
And leading on, estrogen and its effects on mental health, super important, and why We Evolve exists and why we always connect it back to mental health. Estrogen can affect your mood, cognition, and mental health, and it regulates the neurotransmitters called serotonin. Serotonin is when you're feeling satisfied and feeling content. Dopamine, and I'm pretty sure we all know what dopamine means. It's like happiness.
Pain, pleasure.
And pain, pleasure. And norepinephrine.
And then higher estrogen also causes an increase in serotonin and dopamine, like she said, which then it increases your motivation, energy, and mood. So that's why certain parts of your period, you're sad, or you're mad, or you're moody.
And when you're ovulating, it's your best time. You are great. You're living.
That's why usually like there's like a 2 to 3 day, maybe longer, for some people, where you are just feeling your worst. You're not making it up.
Yeah, like
there's literally a hormone imbalance in your body. Yeah. There's a low level estrogen,
which is so crazy because it's so interesting how like mental health is truly just hormonal imbalances in your head.
Yep.
That's crazy.
So we did mention this in the previous episode, but women follow a monthly cycle, the moon cycle, and men follow a daily cycle, the sun cycle.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
It's called the sun cycle?
I think so.
Oh my god.
I think. I might be wrong. But basically, so the idea is men are supposed to feel bad at the end of the day. They feel really good, really bad at the end of the day, and then it just loops every single day. Woman, it's essentially the same thing. But it's over a span of 28 days. Therefore, you feel bad like at the end when your egg gets released.
Right before your period.
Right before your period starts. Then because a period is like, in like the science world or medical world, the start of your period is the start of your cycle.
Yeah.
So like when you get your period, it's a new cycle. It's not so. I know some people think of the period as the end of a cycle. Mm-hmm. It's actually the beginning. That's why when somebody asks you when your last period was, they're not asking the last day of your period. They're asking the very first day. Like when the first day you got your period was. That's the start of your new cycle. Yeah. So period starts. Right before your lowest period starts, you feel amazing, and then it starts going down. Period. New cycle.
I will tell you this, sometimes me and my friends will joke around. If we look really good for the day, my friends will be like, oh, are you ovulating? Like, like they'll just like mess with it, but it's like, no, but it's like actually a thing. You do feel better, and you feel like so much like happier and content, and you look better, and you feel better, and it's like, yeah, it's just great.
And then also, estrogen helps increase synaptic connections and supports neuroplasticity.
So your memory is great during this time.
Neuroplasticity is essentially your brain's ability to learn, grasp, and reinforce new information, activities, hobbies, anything.
Yeah, and that's...
Neuroplasticity, we can make a whole episode on that. That's such a...
We can connect it to Alzheimer's,
insane topic.
There's so many, yeah. And that's why, like Deetya said, right before your period, when your estrogen levels drop, you are irritable, sad, anxious, and tired, aka also known as PMS symptoms, which is premenstrual symptoms.
And then at the end, like we talked about PCOS and endometriosis this episode, people that have PCOS and or endometriosis have irregular estrogen cycles. And that can worsen or sometimes better PMS symptoms. Like it just depends, and then obviously that's directly connected to your mental health. So if you have PCOS or endometriosis, you're more prone to feeling worse on those days where your estrogen is lower because it's more, endometriosis is estrogen dependent. So
there is no cure to endometriosis or PCOS, I'm pretty sure. There are treatments happening, but it's like I hope we get to a point where there are cures for this because it's like dealing specifically with your infertility and how you feel as a person in day-to-day life, and I feel like there should be something out there that helps that.
Yep. There are surgeries that you can do to remove endometrium lining.
The extra lining.
But unfortunately, it does grow back. So that is the problem with endometriosis patients. It's coming down to essentially those macrophages are not eating away that lining. We need a clip of Shwani going like this.
The androgen presenting, like literally, like if you are doing MCAT, DAT, any pre-health stuff, you know what I'm talking about, like the little presenting hats.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
There's a little hair.
Oh. Well, thank you so much for watching this episode,
and we will catch you next week. Bye, guys.